Hi, it's Hazel. Welcome to my channel, Hazel and Aka Design. Now I have shrouded my work surface with this plastic tablecloth. Originally, I had covered my desk just with one of those oversized calendar pads, but then I thought, well, what are you going to be able to see with white on white with transparent type stencils? And the reason I'm talking about stencils today is because, well, I'll bring up to speed, but the point of this video is going to be to use modeling paste through stencils. I haven't done that for ages. It seems like today should be the day. So what I have said is I'm protecting my work surface. Out of sight beside me is, not the ideal size or shape, but I do have a container with some water in it because we know that stencils can be ruined if the stuff is allowed, if the modeling paste is allowed to dry on them. I'll just take this aside for a moment and show you. I keep my maybe less desirable. So of course this is very simple and I don't know if you can tell or not, but it's just sort of a plasticized cardstock. Like on this side is matte. You can tell the perforations there that I must have ripped it out of something and obviously cut it apart to make it, fit better or something. So this is kind of more of the same. Now, are these the greatest, excuse me, shapes in the world? Perhaps not, but I think they will do for today. And I just didn't want to risk wrecking some of my very best stencils because I don't have a way to clean them properly. So a variety of sizes, a variety of openings. And you can see that these tend to have foliage type shapes to them. You can see this ivy one was well used. And this is the top of a topiary tree. Anyway, so I've got some stencils. Now, of course, if you were doing this at home, you could use any stencils you prefer as long as you clean them well immediately after use. I don't have that luxury right this moment. I also assembled a few different things that I will use to apply the modeling paste. And this one is the Liquitex, excuse me, Liquitex brand light modeling paste. I don't know, I guess it's great. It's fine. I know that I also have Golden brand, but of course, for today's purposes, this is good enough. This is one of those Dollar Tree spatula type things. For some reason, I could not put my finger, maybe I see it far off in the distance. I couldn't find my real palette knives, for painting purposes. A hotel key card. And and this is another Dollar Tree thing. It's very rigid, very hard. I think it might have been, to serve the same purpose as a card. I don't know. The message is always the same. Use what you have. Now, I also have gathered up just a few bottles of acrylic paint because I'm thinking at some point we might want to color the modeling paste before putting it through the stencil. Now, of course, the other option, if you just use it straight out of the tube, it will obviously be white, which means that once it has dried, you can use whatever color you want on it. So you could use distress ink, you could use paint, you could use, crayons, gelatos, probably chalk, just about anything that you have in your arsenal. So this I did in the book, one of the books that I use for masterboards. And it would have been in a thrift haul video that you saw that I had a bunch of leaves just done on colored copy paper. So they were really bright. I imagine them that they were intended for decorating a kindergarten room or something. So I fussy cut them out, and I thought, these really aren't the greatest things in the world. Why don't I incorporate them right away and not bother storing them? Like use it, don't store it. And I did it straight on the book page. But I didn't have total coverage, and I thought, well, if I'm going to the trouble of gessoing this, which is what you see here, then I should probably just freehand some other leaves, which I did, just out of the scrap paper, so they had background colors as well. And then I outlined them just with a thick pen. Now, when I went to put the gesso on, which, you know, of course, I like buying stuff in big quantities, and bought this a long time ago, long before journal making. So when I opened the pail, literally the gallon pail, it had separated. So I stirred and stirred and stirred. It still looked a little bit like runny cottage cheese. Gross, I know. And I thought, well, what have I got to lose? I mean, this is just a play piece. I wasn't about to throw that last quarter of the gallon away. So, I mean, there's no indication on here of any lumps or bumps or anything like that. So that stuff probably has a pretty well indefinite shelf life. However, when I went over the areas that I had done with the felt pen, you can tell by the thicker lines, it did seem to sort of move the color a bit. That's why it's more streaky here than over here. Again, not a problem, just an interesting piece of information. So I have this. Now, obviously, it'll only take a few minutes to put some stuff through stencils. Now, when I think about it, these are probably they're too simplistic. They're too big. Can you imagine a great big chunk of? So I think I have to reject those right off the bat. Something like these will, of course, be nicer. So I probably, again, here I could probably maybe do these guys here, the maple leaf and those plain leaves. Well, we'll see how far we get. Now, I didn't know, obviously, how long this was going to take. So another thing I thought I would try as a second substrate, these guys are slipping and sliding here on my plastic, is this. Now, this, gel medium. Okay, so this is Anaglypta wallpaper. So it's the wallpaper that comes on big fat rolls, that is paper-backed, textured, and was intended, I don't know what decade that was, to have the homeowner put on the wall, you know, just like ordinary wallpaper, and then get different finishes based on what paint or what you did to it afterwards. So this would sort of look like a stucco wall. Now, my note here says that I used gel medium on this. So you can see that since then, I've used Posca pens to make a few marks. This is not my favorite thing. It's not complete as it is. But I thought, you know what? It might be worthwhile trying some modeling paste on this. Now, if the intention here was to use this as a cover, or two small covers, I'm not sure how pliable modeling paste is going to be. It probably is not going to bend around corners, is my theory. But let's get to it. Oh, the other thing that I have, now you don't have to have this unless you already have this. This is a disposable palette. So it typically comes in a pad like so, and it's a waxy surface. This is Hunt brand 9x12. So when you're painting, if you're an artiste and you're painting in your studio, you would mix your acrylic colors on here. Because if you're mixing a color, obviously you want to have enough of it so that you have you have color consistency. And then when you're done with it, you can rip it off and you've got a new surface to work on. So the only reason, and of course, I can put this, if I'm wanting to use some of these things, or if I want to mix the modeling paste and the paint to get some colors, I obviously could work right over this because this is not going to lift. So, you know, that was also another Hazel strategy for stretching the money. But let us begin. Now these, maybe I'll start with these teeny weeny stencils simply because they will fit if I throw them in my water. Okay, should I have read the directions? Mediums to prepare, adjust, and protect your acrylic work. Blah, blah, blah. A lightweight opaque paste for 3D effects. Mix with color and build in thin layers or over paint once dry. So that's not much of a... I didn't realize this comes from France. Made in France. I'm thinking I might want to use this just so I can have better control of how much I've got, how much I'm picking up and using. I'm not sure about the angle of this. And of course, you've probably already discovered on your own that with any of these things, like if you're squeezing out paint or whatever, you know, things like paint, let's use paint as an example. It's best to put, you know, as little, like less than you think you might need. Geez, this seems thin. Of course, if you go, which I just have, if you go through if you go beyond the edge of your stencil, you're going to have a ridge there as well. That seems, I don't know, that seems very, I'm kind of surprised by the viscosity of this. Let's see. Ugh. You know what, this cover, oh, there it goes. Oh, let me pick this up. And of course, you want to try to pick your stencil up straight, because if you smear it, because there was gray paint on there, it has discolored that a bit. So that's a bonus, actually, because now you can see where I've been. Let's just see what we can see here. Oh, I thought I was able to... This just seems to be spinning around. I guess this cover isn't intended to come off. So we'll just play along with this. Oh, yuck. I bet you I don't have any... Oh, I do have wipes over here. Anyway, I'm sure you've all tuned in not to figure out how to use modeling paste, but to find out what is the status update on Harvest 2024. We did begin combining. Today is October 9th, I think, whatever the Wednesday is. We did begin combining on Saturday. And because I have the I wasn't using that. The continuing issue with, I think I'm going to let some of this bleed off the edge of the page as well. That's always a good kind of crud is this. Oh, so some paint seems to be flaking off this stencil. Because I have, the jury is still out. I'm waiting to go for is it a CT scan? No, an ultrasound, to see if my left shoulder rotator cuff is torn. My daughter took my place. Well, that's kind of cool, driving the combine. And I've been the gopher, the shuttler, the meal person. I'm kind of glad this is getting discolored so you can see it. So things were going along relatively well. But today, of course, is drizzling, and drizzling turning to rain. So that's why I'm able to spend time in the studio and hopefully get, oh, damn it, get a few videos done. I want to stay in camera range for you. Okay, I'm going to do a third one like this, then we'll switch to something else, to a different shape, because, you know, it's easy to get carried away. Now, I think it said, didn't it say to use thin layers? See how I went beyond? Now, in the big scheme of things, that's not going to matter, because at some point I will be doing, this one turned out the best so far. Maybe I'm getting the hang of this, baby. I haven't done this for quite a long time, and certainly not on a big scale like this. I'm going to throw that in the water. Okay, let's pick a different style. Now I have this. Now I'm sure you can't really see that. They're just like, well, we could pretend that those are single leaves all in a row. So that might be cute to do along the edge here. And again, you see a thing like this would be a great way to direct the eye, because it's so linear. Again, I'm trying to basically, well, you know the thickness of most stencils, so I'm just, by using this card, I'm basically just getting it flush with the top of the stencil. And again, if it's, if every single one isn't perfect or the same, like totally uniform, that's okay too. Now you can see boo-boo there, boo-boo there. I guess if I really, if it really mattered, I could go in and sharpen up that edge a bit. Now, of course, the more I get on here, the more difficult it's going to be to keep my hands and stencils out of the, I can't tell which side. Oh, this is the side it was, okay. So I've got, let me just show you, I've got that along that one edge. So of course, I'm not going to leave that all by itself. And, you know, I'm sure you remember what I've said, or I and others have said about the rule of thirds, and where, what the heck, where, why is nothing, I mean, I did pick up some. Okay, maybe we have liftoff now. So with the rule of thirds, that's obviously where you want to... Oh my goodness. Okay, maybe now we've got something happening. Nothing seems to have come off there. Did I just... I'm going to try to pull this straight up. Yeah, that was kind of crappy the way that turned out. Here I got a big boo-boo. Maybe the trick is I'm going to wipe down both sides of this, because of course once you have a mess on one side, you know, if something is squeezed out or whatever, then you've got it on both sides. So we're essentially starting with a nice clean stencil. And I will also make my little pile of modeling paste more. Oh, I guess it all ended up on my card. So my card is loaded and ready to go. Okay, pull this guy back in. Now, I'm sure you probably can't see that at all, but trust me, it's here, from here to here. So I'll do a third one. So the way things stand, this is going to draw one's eye in. This is going to draw one's eye in. So it feels like the focal point is likely going to end up there. So what I could do just to repeat somewhat is just do maybe some shorter ones of these. So I'm only doing, you know, part of the stencil. This, oh my goodness, this is frustrating. I think part of the problem here is this is such a very skinny little piece of stencil material. Really did nothing. Let's try this again. And of course, the odds of getting this in exactly the right spot are not great. And of course, because I always, let me see what's happening here. Because I always try to make things as compact as possible for storage, that's why I've got little weirdo stuff like this. Okay, I've got, I don't know if you can see, but I do have some poor little things there. Maybe I'll just... Since I have this on the card, I might as well try to get another little bit on here. Yeah, this is rather... Maybe if I turn it over, I'd have a little more surface to... Because, of course, if my stencil was bigger, I wouldn't have to be so darn precise in hitting the holes and not going beyond. I think maybe the universe is trying to say, don't do this. And maybe occasionally we have to listen to the universe. Oh, and look at this. It's picked up some of this rust, orange terracotta colored paint off the disposable palette and has transferred into there, which is a-okay, because now it's adding another little bit of something there. Okay, I'm going to scrape this off. I'm going to throw this one in the water and maybe even further into the garbage after the fact. We'll clean this card off so that we're beginning fresh. Again, you know, some of this false economy that I practice, like by reusing a piece of disposable something or other, is either a great way to stumble on something new, or a way to ruin something. Now those, more luck than brains on that one. So I have this, but maybe I don't think I can lay something this big on, considering that okay, another lesson that has just occurred to me. On a piece this big, so in other words, I'm not just adding modeling paste to a little journaling card or something, or a piece of paper that will, you know, eventually get torn around and whatever. This presumably is the finished piece. So it would have been more prudent to start in the middle and work my way out, because now, how, pray tell, unless I wait to dry this and or use the heat gun, how do I get there? I do have this tiny one, but it's probably going to be about the same as the last one I used. Maybe I will try. Normally I don't really do angles like that, but okay, let's put another little dab of this. Oh, another thing I could have done, maybe I'll do that next time, is apply this straight to the card and not bother putting it on the palette at all. Okay, so hopefully I keep my hands out of the, I'm going to try this. I am not that thrilled with how this is going, to be honest. But those of you who have watched me in past videos persevere beyond the point that any normal person would have or should have, you know that I never give up. I don't know, can you see that? If I angle it, it's right there. Let me try to lift this straight line that... Okay, I'm going to do a couple more of these on the periphery of the page, because that's about the only place I can get to. That top shape there almost reminds me of a, I mean, not exactly, but it sort of is evocative of a poppy pod. That's not so good. Okay, again, I have cleanup. Yeah, I'm thinking that by the time I'm done with, this, I will have a very good idea about what kind of stencils to use or not use. And these little skinny, thin ones are probably going to be in the don't use category. one thing. Okay, let me just finish this one. So far, I've only been using this card. Now, it seems to me there isn't enough flex in it, which makes me think that that Dollar Tree thing I showed you is going to be even worse. But maybe the spatula thing might be a bit better. Okay, so I've got 1, 2, 3. I think I'm going to leave that there. If I end up using this disposable palette as a as something, then the modeling paste that dries on there will be fine. Okay, let us try this. Oh, cheap crap. Do you see how when I did that, it bent right here? But maybe, well, we'll try. So again, always trying to look at these experiments a bit like a scientist. It's going to be the same modeling paste, same stencil. So those two factors are the same, but it's going to be a different applicator. This time, let's just put it straight on here. Maybe I'll just try to do this right here. Somehow, when I used modeling paste before, I thought it was a thicker consistency. Oh, and I forgot to say that if you don't have access to or don't want to spend the money on modeling paste, like, you know, artist brand stuff, what I used to do when I couldn't afford anything else and access was an issue, I was using nail hole filler. I don't know if spackle is a brand name or if that's just the word that describes what it is, but it comes in those little tubs. It's pre-mixed. Again, you take a palette knife, and basically it's the stuff that I have used in the past to fill nail holes. So in other words, you move a picture that's been, you know, hanging on the wall in a particular place. You've got that teeny tiny hole, and you want just it's such a minute amount that you actually need. Okay, I think that for the time being, I'm going to stop with this one, and let's pull in this other thing and try coloring some of this, because I do want to remain aware of the time as well. I think I need a fresh wipe also. So those 3 stencils that I've used are now sitting in this. It's actually like a bread pan or a loaf pan. Just trying to get my hands a little bit clean. I'll swish that around, in the water. So I'm starting, and it doesn't take long for it to dry on these tools. So yeah, I almost think that I like the consistency of that nail hole filler better than this kind of runny stuff. Okay, so lesson learned. If you're using a bigger stencil, do that one first. I But because maybe this one with the undulating lines would be better. Oh, let me put this aside. And we're going to take a fresh, oh, got that going too. Okay, don't put anything on top of that. Sorry, I had that right in your face, I think. I'm going to peel off a new sheet so that you can see and we don't have anything lifting and contaminating the colors that we've chosen. And you know, because I'm a bit of a stacker, it would be so easy to put it on top of that thing I just worked on. But I didn't. Okay, get rid of the card. Got my wipe. Now, because I've started using some of these turquoise colors, that's why I kind of picked these paints. And maybe I should start with this one. This is a metallic. This is a metallic. Indian turquoise, peacock pearl, and patina. Oh, this one isn't even open. Another thing I could do is kind of mix these right on the palette. Sorry, I didn't realize this one wasn't open. Just give it a little bit of a shake. I think these paints are pretty darn good considering the cost of them. And when you can get, you know, a metallic for $3 or $3.50 or whatever it is. So, oh, I didn't probably shake that well enough. I can almost see well, I can see the little oily residue. Well, I can't put it back. Can't put the genie back in the bottle. Oh, anyway, so my daughter has been coming out to help with harvest, but, you know, she has the drive from the city and then the drive back. And she has, you know, she takes phone meetings or video meetings. And then she comes out here and she helps, and then she has to drive, and it's not an ideal situation whatsoever. See, this one is the thickest of the bunch. Not an ideal situation at all. And the whole purpose of her helping was to, as I say, avoid. Boy, my kingdom for a palette knife. The whole point was to what's missing from this recipe? The modeling paste. God. Have you ever baked a cake without the whatever? Now, I don't want to totally stir this because they end up with a, you know, a new color and you lose the... Anyway, I was saying it's not ideal. So the feeling was that today I would attempt to combine. Now, it's not only working that one left lever that you use your left arm for, but it is like, I don't know if you know anything about combines, but there is that set of stairs. You climb those stairs to get into the combine. And in order not to, you know, fall, sometimes the steps are slippery, or if you've got grain on there, it's almost like being on ball bearings. So there's a good chance for slipping. So you do need to be, you know, safety conscious and whatever. And so the other thing I don't know, because I haven't tried, is whether or not I have the strength in that arm to do that whole thing where you're moving your whole body weight off the ground and up these 4, however many steps. So, see, now this, because, I don't know, maybe I'm out of range here, but I can't move at this point. It almost seems like more paint than modeling paste. Oh, and look how, yuck. Because it was runny, it went under the stencil. And because this, look how much is on this side. Oy, oy, oy. Well, waste not, want not. What happens if I just smoosh sort of wipe it off on here? Again, it's I guess we don't know at this point how much of what I transferred there is actually modeling paste and how much is paint. Let me try to clean this back side. Yeah, it doesn't help that I was so generous with those 3 blobs of paint, and then almost as an oversight forgot to do the modeling paste. I think what would be better, and what I'll do this time, is look how nice that looks on there. Oh, see, and this would have been, in hindsight, if I had a little more work surface here, I could have had a blank piece of just copy paper or something and done this cleanup, or this on a piece of paper, and then it wouldn't be just going to waste. Okay, so, oh, you know, another thing that is going to alter how this turns out is the fact that this is not smooth. So, of course, I can't make good contact with the paper because it's already bumpy. But that's, you know, these are all good things. Okay, what I want to do now is try this one more time. This time we start, maybe I'll use that paint there. Start with this. Oh, that's probably way too much. See if I can pick up some of this blue before it dries. Oh, that's nice. I wouldn't have wanted it to be this pale a color. Honestly, can I just leave you for 1 second and see if that other spot is where my palette knives are? Because they are purpose-built to flex. Sorry, I just need to make my way to this other area. brushes and no, oh. I was going to say a million brushes, not a palette knife in sight. I might have some of that down with my other painting supplies. I also have all of these. Well, not this basting brush. Okay, this is one style. And then you know, there are those others that almost look more like a butter knife. Okay, we're going to try this baby. So, should we reuse this one? Because then we have a test case. And I'll just do up. Oh, Lord, give me strength. Oh, I was going to put one little dot of this metallic in there. If we're going to all this trouble, let's at least have a little sparkle and shine. And I do mean one dot. Okay, don't overmix. Let's pull all this in. And of course, if you're ever painting with acrylics and you've got all your colors spread out on a palette or a paper plate or whatever you're using, the thinner you spread it, the faster it's going to dry. You can mist your paint lightly with water. Now, of course, if you did that too much or too often, you would also be changing the color. You'd be thinning the color out. I like that, but where else? Or maybe I could be over here. I'm going to try just this part, and then we're going to call it a day. Now, again, knowing that we have a rough substrate, I wonder if I would have gotten better results if I would have taped my stencil down. Taking a little more care this time. And with this nice little point, I hope you can see it without my hands being in the way. Again, it's pretty impossible because of the texture. I can't make perfect, like a perfect seal against the paper, perfect contact. It'll be interesting to see if after this dries, move that slightly. Damn it. It'll be interesting to see if any of the metallic shows or if it was so overpowered by the texture paste and the other paint color that I picked off the palette. Well, with all those caveats, the rough paper, the blah, 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 that's probably as good as it's going to get. Yeah, there's so much going underneath. But using a palette knife does seem to give more control. I'm going to dip, putting that one in the water as well. Okay, one last thing. I'm going to try some of these circles. Now these look more like rocks, and I think that's what they were supposed to be. So it gives me a chance to to put a little more through the stencil, because obviously it's a bigger, come on, a bigger opening. That's another drop of metallic, because I don't want it to be exactly the same color that was just used. Now, if this works somewhat, then there will be the opportunity to, and maybe I'll put it right over some of that painted stuff. It'll give me the opportunity to, you know, highlight the circles with, you know, mark making paint pen, blah, blah, blah. And maybe I'll just randomly choose a design here so it doesn't look so much like rows. Now, of course, it's going to be this, because this is paper, essentially. See, it seems hard to make this flush, so I don't know if I have to keep. Okay, that's more like it. These are like little cascading rocks here. And of course, it's like, you know, you're trying to spread it, but you're also kind of removing it with the same stroke. So that's why I keep going back and forth. Oh, that's a piece of crud there. Crud meaning dried up paint from elsewhere. Okay, I'm not going to mix any more colors. I'm going to make this, whatever's on here, that has to be all I have. So I just keep working it from one angle and another, trying to sort of build up that layer. And again, we're not aiming for perfection. I don't know why this is not seeming to want to stay there. Again, what's our cardinal rule? Do not prejudge. Throw that in there. I'm going to just quickly wipe this and then we'll take a quick look at. Yeah, a fair bit did go to the other side. Now, of course, this side is not as protected as this side. And, you know, on an El Cheapo thing like this, it's almost a throwaway. If the modeling paste got dried up on here and became, you know, if it made the edges a little jagged, that could be a bonus. Okay, let's see what we have. So, yeah, we're not going to prejudge. Now, because the paint is fairly thick here, I'm just going to let this air dry, and maybe the next time you see this, I will have done either some more modeling paste stencil work on it, or will have begun to work with what is here. Whoops. Let's see what we can see on this. Okay, so that almost pretty well feels dry to the touch. Now, typically, if something feels cool, it's still not dry. But at this point, I can't really smear it either. So it's well on its way to drying. So I'm just going to continue to let this air dry. And I don't know, to be honest, what the next step will be with this one. I think because I've got this big gaping hole here, I would probably go back in with something. One thing we didn't try, these rubber spatulas. Now this one is a little bit concave, so I think that would be a mistake. This one seems very flexible. This is probably the most likely one of these that would work. And this, again, maybe too much flex and too thick a surface there. This is probably the winner. Don't know. Okay, guys, I'm going to stop there. I appreciate you being here, and I hope that some of this play, aka mistake making, what else have we done here? Experimentation, happy accidents. I hope that this encourages you to try either nail hole filler or modeling paste if you have it. Don't need to rush out and buy it because, you know, artist supplies are not cheap. So I don't know what the price of nail hole filler is. And of course, you know, that's typical marketing. They make you buy a thing about yay big, which is probably almost a cup in volume. You do 4 or 5 or 10 nail holes, and then the rest tends to dry up on it before you need it again a few years later. So if you're buying it, then for heaven's sakes, put modeling paste on everything. Anything that stands still, put modeling paste on it. Get your money's worth. Okay, guys, I'm stopping there. Thank you so much, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.